Okay, so from this point forward, it will be recorded and we will be posting it on the admitted students portal so other folks can see it. I want to welcome our two VIP guests. We have Kendra Stacey, who's a 1L, and we have Professor Pam Keller, who was a 1L. Did you go to KU Law? I forget.
Yes, I did.
Professor Keller is an alum. Professor Keller, what do you teach at the law school?
I teach lawyering skills, our first year course. The director of that program. I also teach moot court, a number of competitions and the in-house competition, and I oversee the judicial field placement.
Great. And Kendra, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself, your background, and what focus you have, if any?
Right now, I am a non-traditional law student. So I am married. I have 2 teenage daughters, and I am a 1L. Currently, I'm really enjoying class, and I am kind of leaning toward my dog is coming. I'm kind of leaning towards the criminal side, at least for now. I think I have found a mentor who is a criminal defense attorney in Kansas City. So she's really taken me under her wing, and I'm really learning a lot from her and enjoying that.
That's great. So you guys are both, Kendra is a 1L, Professor Keller teaches 1L classes. I'll start with Professor Keller, and folks out there can jump in at any time. We're just getting the ball rolling with some questions here, but we really do want to hear your questions. So Professor Keller, can you talk about how KU Law structures the first year program?
Sure. So you'll have a standard curriculum. Is that what you mean? You'll have to take a certain number of courses that all 1Ls take the same courses: torts, constitutional law, property, and some others, and then lawyering skills. And so structurally, you'll have your lawyering skills class will be a small group, probably no more than 20 or 22 students, sometimes a little bit smaller than that. And then your other courses can vary, but they'll be a little bit larger. I mean, in terms of the structure of how those courses are set up, sometimes the class is split in half for some of those larger classes, but you also will have one additional small group class. So you'll kind of have a combo where you really have a lot of access to your first year professor in at least 2 of those courses, and then kind of the experience of being with a larger group and what those discussions and back and forth will go in terms of learning your material.
Kendra, can you talk about your experience and especially your small section?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say I really enjoy our small section. So the first year, we actually take every single class with a group. Our small section is about 23 people. And so first semester, we have a small section class where it's just our small section. So it's kind of like a homeroom. It's really great because you really create these close bonds with friends that have every single class together. So any questions you have this group of people. My small section, we really have bonded. We had a Friendsgiving where we all went together. We try to go out maybe about once a month together for lunch a lot of times. And so we have a group meet where we all can ask like random questions that you might not feel comfortable asking another professor or even other students, but you have that group of people that you can be like, guys, am I missing something? Is this what this is? And so I've really enjoyed our small section. And it's also nice that you can have study partners that have every class together. So you kind of learn whose schedule works together or who just has the same learning style and you want to pair up with. And you know that you can ask them any question and it's not, oh wait, are you in that class? I need to find somebody else. And so you can have a study time with that person or with that group of people. So I've really enjoyed the small section and getting to know my people, my 23 people that I know I can ask them anything. So.
Professor Keller, I want to ask you about the lawyering class itself. Legal writing. I always tell folks the number 1, 2, and 3 job skill, I'd say 90% of attorneys can have is, legal writing ability. So can you talk about our approach to teaching legal writing? I know lawyering is a larger class than just legal writing, and you can speak to that too. But certainly, a major point of emphasis for us is training people to be good legal writers.
Sure. First, I'll just jump in, add one comment to Kendra. I still am close friends with the folks from my small section. My very closest friends in law school, 3 of them were in my small section, and we're still pretty tight, so that's kind of fun. And it's been a lot of years, over 20 years, so the small section is good stuff all around. So with lawyering, yes, I mean, we sort of pride ourselves on the fact that we focus a lot on the skill of writing and developing your research, writing, and analytical skills in order to write well as a lawyer. But lawyering skills is broader than that. This semester, we're actually, the students are doing a lot of other things to increase their skills in terms of doing some client interviewing, doing some client interviewing, have some distractions a little bit at home, doing some client interviewing. They had a mock mediation. And actually, they're writing a brief right now, but right after that, they will do an oral argument for us. So right now, they're in the thick of things in terms of writing what is called a summary judgment brief. And we actually take it in a number of stages and try to teach them how to write the different components of the brief. But really, the bulk of it is trying to teach the students how to make their legal arguments in a compelling and clear way. And there's a lot of things we do to talk to students about how to transition from whatever writing they did before to try to write as a lawyer would and be compelling. In fact, right before this, I was putting together a screencast to help the students improve arguments they're making in their brief. I thought I would be doing this in the classroom, but we're adjusting, of course. And we're talking to them about not only the law, of course, finding better law and making their arguments strongly based on the law, but then also strategically, how would a lawyer approach this and what kinds of arguments would a lawyer make and why? To me, that's pretty exciting and pretty fun. But that's our approach. We want to make you a good writer, but we also want to make you think the way lawyers think and think about clients and how lawyers help their clients.
Okay. Another thing that you're famous for, Professor Keller, is organizing lawyering boot camp. I talk to a lot of prospective law students, and one of their big concerns is, when they get to law school, the learning style is going to be different. Just going to be thrown, the tradition, maybe it's an old tradition, was to just throw law students in there, let them sink or swim, and see how that goes. But I know you've worked hard with your colleagues to develop lawyering boot camp. Before I turn to you, though, I want to get Kendra's opinion on not opinion, but her thoughts on how lawyering boot camp was, and how was it?
No, I thought it was very, very helpful. You do go in and you're nervous. There's always that imposter, like, okay, do I really have what it takes? Oh no, I'm going to be found out as a fraud that I'm sitting here with all these genius people. But on day one, the entire class gets put into the room. So there's about 100 of us, and we're all starting from the same place. It's skill based, so you guys taught us how to take notes, how to brief a case, like actually how to understand some of the definitions and the terms that I assume I'm the only one that, I've never heard of what this means, but in reality, the people sitting around me haven't either. And so we are all starting on an even basis. It's nice. You get to know the whole class. I found that was very helpful, getting to know people that I don't necessarily have in classes. And so I still, since it's a small building, 100 people in a class is not that much. So I made friendships from boot camp that I can still ask people, hey, what do you think about this issue or whatever, if we're talking about a class. And so I think it really just helps bring people together in the building, and it helps you just have a great start. Like you're jumping off from the same place, which is very helpful.
And Professor Keller, can you talk about the history of the lawyering boot camp, how it came about, and anything else you'd like to share about it?
Sure. All of the material in boot camp we used to do as part of the course, but it became pretty obvious early on that it would be better to provide students with some of that information that Kendra was talking about case briefing, about how you should transition from the type of studying and the classwork you did before to what it means to be a student in the law school classroom, along with just some content material that some students haven't a lot of students haven't had in undergrad, or those that have been working for a number of years, about how the legal reasoning process works. So we realized early on that we needed to get that to the students sooner rather than even a week or two into classes, which seemed a little bit late. Students, as Kendra indicated, you're just full of nerves coming to law school. And the beauty of boot camp is we have about 3 days for lawyering. I think the whole orientation process is about 5 days, but in 3 days of lawyering, we kind of give you pretty safe space. Even though there's 100 people in the room, everyone is feeling the same thing. There's no grade attached to what you're doing. None of your other professors will see you asking a silly question. I won't remember that you asked a silly question, and we can all just sort of for 3 days kind of talk about what this experience is going to be like and give you some guidance in terms of how to adjust and sort of, get your mind around all these things that you're going to be doing. And it's still hard on the first day. It's not that it's so easy, but you're more prepared. And I think you feel like you have a little bit more grounding. And I love boot camp, and I suspect we'll never change it. We might change parts of it, but I think we'll have it. I can't imagine I can't imagine not having a system where we have students with us for a couple of days before they launch into their coursework.
I don't know if you guys saw Douglas's question, but I believe summer starters do boot camp with us. He asked what lawyering skills look like for summer starters, and my understanding, I remember them all being with us. Did you guys see that?
I'm going to pull up the questions if I can look at that, but I can answer that. We actually have a separate boot camp for summer starters, and I handle that with typically another lawyering professor also. But we do all summer starters are in lawyering skills together, as you indicated, Kendra. So what we do is sort of break up the boot camp, and I'll do in sort of half and half. The portion of it that is, here's how to prepare for your other classes, I give the summer starters separately. Then the portion is like, here's the lawyering piece, and here's the piece that you need to start getting ready for the legal writing. We do that. We bring the summer starters in, and they do sort of the last day of boot camp with the fall starters. So we transition them so they can meet everybody else. But the bulk of boot camp I actually do for the summer starters first, so that they kind of have the same grounding. But then we want everybody together in lawyering, because the writing piece and the research, you just can't do that in a condensed summer format. You need that to do that over the whole semester. So we bring everybody together, as Kendra indicated.
As for Doug's other part of the question, what would the course look like virtually? Of course, we're all planning to have them live in person, but it is a possibility. I'll let Professor Keller speak to that, but she'll give the same caveat. We're still putting together our plans for this. We have had a strong preference for what's called asynchronous classes, so that if there are technology issues for students or timing issues for students, they can simply download the video rather than having to do the live video. But Professor Keller, have you guys talked about what you'll do if it's offered online in the summer?
Well, I have it a little bit easier because lawyering skills, the whole course is not in the summer. Boot camp, I think, wouldn't be, we'd miss obviously the chance to get to know students a little bit as we did, can and being together. But the content of the boot camp, I would envision a mixture of things like we're doing now in lawyering skills to transition. We have some screencasts and PowerPoints that we're doing, some interactive work where the students have to complete coursework and then give it to us, so I could envision giving you questions and you having to give us, get some of that information back to us, or creating online exercises that would get you through some of the materials. And then also doing some, sort of Zoom sessions, especially since the summer group is typically smaller. So we do these live sessions where we could work with the material as well. So the material that we have for boot camp, I think a lot of it would lend itself to putting some screencast materials together and online interactive materials together. But I also think we'd have a large component of it be these interactive sessions as well.
Yeah, and then, certainly by the fall, we hope to have live classes again. Obviously, factors beyond our control will determine that, but it is 5 months away, so we're hoping to have get back to normal at some point, or at least some version of it. And yeah, so
Right.
Do we have any more questions from the folks out there? Okay, pop in at any time, Kendra. Is there anything that you'd like to add about your experience as a KU Law student?
I really enjoyed. I was kind of surprised because, like I said, I'm a non-traditional student, and so I really did enjoy. I enjoy the community of the building. I have found that even professors that I don't have any classes with, I've built friendships just depending where you sit and you study. You start to get to know different people, the different librarians. Blake Wilson and I make food jokes every single day, and we check in to see what we eat. And, you're just making friendships. And I was kind of surprised at how fast community is built in that aspect. And so I'm excited for the new 1L to become a 2L. That's kind of exciting, have you guys come join the community. But I've really enjoyed that part of law school.
Thank you, Brian, for asking that question. Thank you, Kendra. Thank you, Brian, for asking that question. I almost forgot to ask Professor Keller about the judicial placement clerkship and also our field placement programs in general. Could you speak to those, please?
Yeah. So I put down, this year we had about 10 each semester. So 10 in the fall, 10 in the spring for the judicial field placement, and about 25 last summer. And that's pretty consistent. I will say that doesn't count if you get a position on your own. This is a little hard to explain, but some students are able to look for positions with judges on their own, particularly in the summer, maybe in another state. And then that number can get larger. If we have a number of students doing that, then I fold them into the judicial field placement. And so So there's not really a limit on that if you were to find your own position. But for the
Could you
positions
describe?
that we assist students in the, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
So for the positions that we assist students with, yeah, for the positions we assist students with, that's about the correct numbers.
Could you describe
Let's
what
see.
the judicial, what it means to do a judicial field place, a clerkship? What do judicial clerks do on a day-to-day basis? What kinds of judges do they work for? Where do they do it?
Sure. The judicial internship program, basically we have students working with the courts, acting like clerks, which clerks are lawyers. Law clerks are lawyers who assist judges in chambers and write their opinions, do the research. I was a law clerk after law school for Judge Lundstrom, who's a United States District Court judge here in Kansas. And so our students are acting as interns, you know, sort of folks in training to do what a law clerk would do. We have interns that work in the federal courts in Kansas City, in Topeka, and in the summertime in Wichita. And then we also have interns that work in the state courts in Johnson County, in Lawrence, in Topeka, and also in Wichita in the summer. And the experience is slightly different, well, a little bit different in state court and federal court. In state court, you're going to see a lot more trials. They just have more trials in state court, and you know, shorter trials. You could see a trial every day. In federal court, you might not see as many trials, but you're probably going to do more research because judges on the federal level will put out more orders on paper. So you might do some, have to help the judges with that and do some deeper level research. But all law clerks are seeing proceedings in court, or all interns are seeing proceedings in court and doing a certain amount of research and writing.
Yeah, I think one of the most shocking things that students who participate in those programs learn is, oh my goodness, but what I wrote, the research I did is ending up in an actual decision of the court. I mean, it's a really amazing experience, a little shocking, but pretty wonderful too, to think that you're having this direct impact. And I think that our judicial clerkship program is really exciting in that way. Kendra, do you? I might be a little early for you to have plans for the summer. I don't know. Do you?
I am waiting. I've been in the final rounds for the Jackson County Prosecution's Office, so I'm really excited about the opportunity to do that. If that doesn't work out, I have a field placement application in the wings also, and then there's always the option of the Innocence Project for the clinics that happen on campus, which is a real possibility that I'd be interested in because I could also take classes. So just from thinking through as a 1L perspective, it would allow me to get some credits out of the way if I'm already going into, since I live in Kansas City. So if I was to drive into Lawrence for the project, which is it's a clinic where basically I'm working with real lawyers in-house. If you guys have ever taken a tour, hopefully you've seen the office, and we've stopped and been like, here's the Innocence Project. I can take classes, and that will just help kind of cross some things off my list, kind of help your GPA. It's what everyone told me. So I have several options, and I'm waiting. I think the coronavirus has put things a little bit stalled, but I have several options waiting to find out.
Well, great. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question about experience of being a non-traditional 1L. Sure. So I would say there's two different experiences. So there is everything at home and leading up to the doors of Green Hall, and then once you enter into Green Hall. I would say being in Green Hall and just the day-to-day activities, I really don't feel like there's a difference. Being non-traditional, I feel like once we all walk in those doors, we're kind of the same place, we're all doing class together, we're taking the same classes. So I don't feel like maybe I'm in a different category than my fellow classmates in school, but at home, I'm a mom. Like I said, I have two daughters, who one's in middle school, one's in high school. And then my parents live with us. My dad had a health issue, and so my parents live with us, and so that adds another layer of kind of that non-traditional stuff. But I have found unlike maybe some of my other classmates, I do treat it more like a job. So when I try to leave, be at the school as early as possible, and I get all my work done. And then I come home and I'm able to be mom, wife, daughter at home and try to kind of separate the two worlds. So that's where I'm at.
That's great. We're coming up on about 25, 30 minutes, which I think is a pretty good time for these videos. We are doing a series of these videos. I'm sure you all saw the schedule on the Admitted Students portal. So we're really excited. Tomorrow will be Career Services Office, which they'll do an interesting presentation. So I want to thank Kendra and Professor Keller and thank all of you for joining us. We will post this soon, and we hope to see you again real soon. Thank you.